chief is sick. The fire chief is at a fire chief's conference.
Okay. Okay, just checking before I start.
I could give a
Okay.
complete
No,
list.
no.
It's that time of year.
No, I got a reason for asking, so, and everybody will know why here in a second. Let me go ahead and call this, this meeting to order. This is the Stephenville City Council regular business meeting here on Tuesday, January 7th at 5:30 p.m. And just welcome everybody here and say Happy New Year. And we've had a wonderful 2013. Hope everybody had a great Christmas and New Year's. And we've got a couple of things I wanted to talk about starting the year off right. And that's why I was asking about the fire chief, because we have a resolution that I wanted to read this evening from State Representative J.D. Sheffield, that from the state of Texas resolution, whereas proud members of the Stephenville Fire Department are gathering with city and local officials on December 19th to dedicate the city's new fire station, number 2, and whereas established in 1898, the department provides fire protection and emergency ambulance service to some 16,000 area residents, and it receives more than 2,000 calls per year. And whereas the new station number 2 was designed with valuable input from the department's firefighters, and whereas the department's 24 full-time firefighters and 20 volunteer firefighters benefit from the leadership of Fire Chief Jimmy Chu, who holds the distinction of being the department's longest-serving member with more than 43 years of service, and whereas for more than a century, the Stephenville Fire Department has worked to preserve the lives and protect the property of area Texans, and the completion of this impressive new facility ensures that the department will be even more better prepared to serve the community in the years to come. Now therefore be it resolved that the dedication of Stephenville Fire Station number 2 be commemorated, and that the members of the Stephenville Fire Department be extended sincere best wishes for the future. And that's signed J.D. Sheffield, State Representative, District 59. So if you weren't at the dedication ceremony we had on December 19th, it was a great kickoff to a fabulous new facility, the newest city facility in Stephenville. And there was a great crowd that evening. And if you haven't been by, I'm sure that Chief Chu or any of the firefighters would be more than pleased to give you a tour of the facility. And it was really, it's a fantastic facility. So, Mark, congratulations to you and your team. And if Jimmy was here tonight, congratulate him and his leadership with that. So, so thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, now, there's more. Ms. Stafford. She hates this. That's why I'm springing it on her as a surprise. Come stand up here just real quick. Hopefully, everyone knows this by now, but if you don't, you're getting ready to know that whereas City of Stephenville Secretary Cindy Stafford has been selected as the 2013 Municipal Clerk of the Year by the Blue Bonnet Chapter of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association. And whereas Ms. Stafford has been in her current position since February 1994, and she has served 6 Stephenville mayors over the course of her tenure. She has also been an active member of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association, and her work has greatly benefited that organization. And whereas a dedicated volunteer, Ms. Stafford has shared her time with Meals on Wheels, Erath County United Way, and the Stephenville Relay for Life, a fundraiser she coordinates each year. In addition, she participates in the local Zonta Club and Faith Lutheran Church, and she serves as an ambassador for the Stephenville Chamber of Commerce. And whereas Cindy Stafford has demonstrated outstanding professionalism and dedication over the past 2 decades, and she may indeed take great pride in this recognition from her peers, now therefore be it resolved that Cindy Stafford be congratulated on her selection as the 2013 Municipal Clerk of the Year by the Blue Bonnet Chapter of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association, and that she be extended sincere best wishes for continued success. That's again signed by J.D. Sheffield, State Representative, District 57. Let's please join me in just congratulating. Mark shared with me already, the only way we'll hear up here is for a surprise.
That's exactly right.
Mayor, I'd like to note that you said she served 6 different mayors. I think that's an accomplishment. There you go. I probably should have reworded that. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah. Okay, great. At this time, I'll see if there's any citizens' general discussion, anyone that would like to come before the council and make a statement. Okay, seeing none then, I'll move on to the third item on the agenda, which is the Planning and Zoning Commission section. And we'll begin with calling a public hearing to consider the request to rezone from Industrial District to B2 Retail and Commercial Business District, Lot 7, Block 75, City Edition, located at 634 East Road. So, Ms. Chu?
Thank you, Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending changing the zoning classification of this property that is located at 634 East Road from industrial to the R2 Retail and Commercial Business District. This is a unanimous recommendation of the 8 commission members that were present at the meeting in December. You have in your packet the staff report and ordinance on page 5, which would affect the zoning change if you concur with the commission's recommendation. And I believe the applicant is also here, or I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the staff report.
Any questions for Ms. Chu? Mr. Nix?
Betty, I drove by the property there, it looks like a single-family residence on that property, is that correct?
Yes, sir. There is an existing single-family residence which they propose, if rezoning is accomplished. A church is not a permitted use in industrial zone
Okay.
property. So if rezoning is accomplished, they do propose to use the property and redevelop it with the church.
Is the single-family residence a permitted use in B2?
No, sir.
Okay, so if it's rezoned, it could not be a residence, but it could be a church.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Same question I always had. Were there any concerns by the folks that you sent notices to?
We had no comments from
Okay.
the property owners.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd ask if anyone would like to come forward and speak in favor of the rezoning consideration, to do so at this time. Okay, seeing none, I'll ask if anyone is opposed to the request to come forward. Okay, seeing none, I'll consider a motion then.
Mayor, I move we adopt ordinance 2014-01 to rezone the property of mention from industrial to B2.
Okay, all right, let me slow down here just a second. I'm gonna close the public hearing. Public hearing's closed. All right, now I'm gonna consider a motion. Motion by Mr. Nix, seconded by Mr. McDaniel, to consider adopting ordinance 2014-01 to rezone from industrial district to B2 Retail and Commercial Business District, Lot 7. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that motion carries, unanimous vote. Okay.
Did you change any? No, that's mine.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a second and final reading and consideration of the approval of the contract with Progressive Waste Solutions. Mr. Kaiser?
The representatives with Progressive Waste are here, and we'll be glad to go over all the provisions. And let me just state that the process started. Our contract does expire. It expired December 31st. We've got the extension until this action here. We began these meetings and discussions in September, basically just working out whether we go out and solicit proposals for other company providers. This company has continued to show stellar services. We have worked on a couple of provisions, and I want to kind of come up and cover They are environmentally friendly. They continue to stay in compliance with all the regulations. And probably the most important thing is they are giving us a very, very, very good rate. And so with those pieces, let me just state that the focus of the discussion and the modifications to the contract are spelled out and discussed a little bit more on page 12 of the contract, or page 12 of your agenda, section 6 of the contract. And so I want to kind of cover those just a little bit so that everybody understands what those final resolutions were. The city has provided some free containers for our services, and those are spelled out. And what we actually did is just tried to identify those a little more directly. The recycling center, as you know, the discussion has been, are we ready to have curbside recycling? We've gone through that discussion. It's still a little bit too costly at this time, or at least so I believe we've come to that conclusion. And but what we do want to do is we put a lot of emphasis on trying to upgrade the recycling drop-off center. They currently have one. It's just one giant container. You can see if you even go by there, they're going to be making some modifications to simplify it, to clean it up, to make it more user-friendly for the citizens to come by, as well as we're going to try to see if we can get some better markings so that everyone knows where it's at, and to begin to try to advertise it a little bit better. We go through periodic stages of that, but let me just let you know, so we've addressed and modified that some. They're fully in compliant and interested in trying to assist us. I believe they have actually contracted with Fred Parker, and we've got some preliminary designs coming to give us some illustrations of true pictures of what we're trying to achieve and accomplish here upon these executions. But let me know that, and I want you to know, the public to know, that we recognize, we hear everybody, recycling continues to be a real strong emphasis, and we're going to try to put some additional emphasis, they are as a company as well, with us to try to improve that area. So that's kind of number two. The third and or fourth section, I'm going to kind of put the two together. We never really had some specific identifications regarding some complaint slash compliance issues slash if somebody had a miss, how did it get addressed? How do we get reportings back to us? And so we've tried to spell that out here in the next couple of paragraphs. We have asked them, they're going to be giving us an annual report like we do have on many of our other contracts, whereby they'll come and just give us that type of data information rather than just talking about how much it costs and what. We want to try to have a true quality service. Tell us what we're doing good, what we're doing bad, what they're doing good. Can we help you? Can we help? And just talk about the service levels. And so we're putting it in here that they're going to make an annual report to us each year to talk about the services and the quality of service and some controls that we can continue to monitor, put in place, and how we can deal with that. The other issue there is that you also see that if there are some misses, and one of the other issues has been occasionally the trucks, and again, when it's rainy, you know that it's going to kind of have some, I'm going to kind of call it spills, if you would, but when they compact the garbage, the liquids in there, the truck has a containing area that's supposed to be, but occasionally it may overflow, occasionally there may be other problems with it, but more importantly, it's really the hydraulic fluid issues that when they have those kind of situations, they may not know about it. If we get it called in, they have an ample time to go and clean that area of the street, clean the neighborhoods, try to get rid of the smells, try to get rid of the hydraulic fluids or whatever else issues may be there. And if they don't, within a reasonable amount of time, there is a fine provision in here to do that. So please understand that is new to the contract. They've agreed, they understand it. I will tell you that they're always very responsive to us when we know, but we've tried to put some provisions in here to talk about those quality control type issues. So hopefully I've kind of spelled out the changes that have occurred throughout these negotiations, all of which I think are positive. They've been very, very great to work with. Now, let me just tell you, as a whole then, we get twice a week pickup. with a bulky item, you're able to put out bulky items. I had somebody tell me one time, I think I could put my mom out there and they'd pick her up, throw away. I mean, meaning just, I mean, you can throw everything out there and they'll pick it up. And I can just tell you, not every company, not every community has that service and provide that opportunity, and they're definitely not provided that opportunity for $11.34 a month. So for that, I'm just going to tell you, I thank them for their efficiency, as well as the quality of service that they provide. And then, you know, secondarily, again, they've just, again, they continue to work and work with us, work with all the citizens. And I can tell you that if you have an issue, they've been more than friendly enough and try to find a way to help you resolve those issues. So with that said, I want to, you know, I strongly recommend and encourage that you approve this contract as negotiated here, and hopefully it meets all of your comments and questions and concerns that we've addressed up to this point. They'll be here. I'm sure they'll be glad to answer any questions if y'all have any.
Okay, any questions from the council for either Mark or the team from Progressive? Mr. Evans?
Just to be fair, I was a little fussy at Tim last month over a spill. Let me just report to the council that the next day after that council meeting, before 8 o'clock, Tim was out in front of my house. Sherry told me they cleaned that up, that whole street. More importantly, Tim, is we haven't had any more spills. That's the best news. We appreciate that. That's our goal.
Okay. Any other? Mr. Swing?
One of the questions I've always asked is, in the contract negotiations, did we maximize our revenue from using our own landfill with our?
Thank you. One of the provisions we've had in there, and I apologize, but we did put in a provision in here that they're going to be bringing us 25% of those commercial roll-offs that qualify for, so up to about 25%. Now, we put that limitation in there, and that's obviously going to be dependent upon the volumes that are just generated here in town. But the other piece is, and please, you know, for everybody's understanding, why do they not bring them all to ours? You know, they own a landfill as well, and so they've got to kind of help balance their revenue and continue to be a customer of their own as well. And so they just balance that. But they have committed to giving us 25% of those loads, and so that allows us to continue to help manage our landfill and give them quick turnaround for our local builders. And so that provision was put in here too. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Mr. McGann?
Mark, I noticed that a change in the new contract allows for a $250 fine if they don't clean up the spill within what's the period of being notified of the spill in the street?
You know, if they're not responsive enough within, I think it says a timely manner or something like that, but I want to say it's like 24 to 48 hours. It'll be pretty quick.
24 hours?
Yeah, if they don't respond.
Okay.
So when they're notified of it, and again, I've yet to ever see where that is. Now, the change that you're referring to is originally in the contract, I believe we had $25. I think there was some discussion, you know, maybe $500. They've agreed to $250, and so that's what kind of where we've settled on. And again, we're not trying to, you know, we're not trying to beat them up here because again, they have been, but at the same time, you know, if there ever is an abusive situation, we want to make sure we have some teeth to it too. So.
Okay. For the folks watching at home, can you explain the new way of having bulky items picked up at your curb? Is that still every Monday, or how is that handled?
We still have the bulky item pickup, and one of the issues, and both for them because of the manpower and the timing, has really been focused around. Right now, they are currently driving every Monday. They just drive all the way around town, and they drive around town in a big truck. If you maintain the streets on our street side of it, I don't want those trucks on the streets any more than they have to be, okay? Because it just the wear and tear on the streets, and especially when they've got the heavier load. So what we're doing here is asking everybody, and it may take some time to get built into this, but we're going to be asking that the citizens call in when you have those bulky item situations, rather than just us having to go around town all day on a Monday.
Fuel too.
They got 2 people and a truck that goes around and does that on a Monday. Now, sometimes it's probably faster than others, but it would be real nice if they just know right where to go, pick it up, and get out of there. And I think that's, we're going to continue to try to work on that, but please understand that that'll be a little bit fluid as we go. But yes, that's the real change. It's not that we're getting a new bulky system. It's really, we're asking for it to be a call-in system because we're trying to get the trucks as little as
Okay,
possible on the road.
Large bags of leaves would be considered bulky items sitting beside the cans?
But, you know,
Yes,
yeah,
they're seasonal, so we
Yeah.
put them as a bulk item, yes.
yes. Now, no, and you're saying beside the can, see, that's kind of some of the issues too, that obviously, when it's can day, and pardon me, when it's can day, they're gonna be picking up the can. It's an automated system, they're doing some other things, and so if you're thinking that they're gonna get out of the truck and pick up all those bags sitting around that you sat beside there, I'm sorry, they're not, they may, and don't get me wrong, a lot of times they do.
They do not.
And I appreciate that, a lot of times they do. But they don't have to by the contract. What we're asking is when you have those bulky situations, but yes, a big stack of leaves, I can tell you right now, I've seen them take a lot of those.
Right. Do
You
we
know,
have
it used to, we had like a limit of like 6 bags, and there might still be, but again, they just ask it to be conscientious. You know, what happened is right now, like during the holidays, and I know several have called and asked, they might have been a day later or because of the weather, the holidays, and then just the pure volume of trash that we've had during the holidays with Christmas and everything, it does, it may take them a little extra time, but they do get it all picked up, and their mission and goal is to get all the trash picked up.
Sure.
So,
Is there a joint cooperative effort plan that we're gonna do with the people at Progressive to let the public know to call in?
that,
That's a lot of folks out there, 5,000 residents or 5,000 homes or something.
and we'll continue to keep educating and working on
Maybe
educating.
Put it on the water bill in
It's
bold
just-
print or
just
something.
A lot of different ways to,
Okay.
you know.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. I think the one thing I heard out of that, I guess, is kind of an action item from this, is to make sure there's a notification of the bulky item change.
Yeah, just-
So,
okay.
that's
Let everybody know.
That's good. Any other questions or comments? I just will add one thing here. I am, Brady, I appreciate your work with the committee working on this, and Mark, you and the staff bringing this together, and to Progressive as well. I mean, these contracts, like we said from the beginning, are a partnership. And I think the way this has come together reflects a really positive relationship, and we're looking forward to that in the future. I think one of the things that I'm most pleased with about the restructure of this is we've done it in ways that will benefit the city without costing more money. And what we've targeted here is communication. And that's going to breed success, because we've got now a formal vehicle for us to talk about how things are going. And I think that's really a positive addition to this. And so, Mark, I appreciate your work on that, and us moving forward here with a good relationship in the future. And I appreciate y'all's work, to keep us environmentally secure and safe without violations, and getting things picked up even when there's ice storms. But I think bottom line, this contract with the communication piece on it's going to be a real positive as we move forward. So thanks for y'all's work with us on that. Okay, I guess I need to consider a motion then to approve us moving forward with this contract.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we adopt the Progressive Waste Solutions contract as presented to council.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Pendleton, seconded by Mr. Nix to approve adoption of the contract with Progressive Waste Solutions as presented. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Motion carries. And we'll move now to the Finance Committee report. Mr. Savine.
Thank you, Mayor. December 10th, we had a Finance Committee meeting. Members present were myself, Chair Malcolm Cross, Alan Nix, and Brady Pendleton. And we had 3 items to require action. One is just a report, and I'm going to let the city administrator discuss each of them as we go through. But the first one refers to our annual financial investment plan and policies. And so I'll let Mark kind of discuss that with us, if you would, please.
Yes, we are required to annually just adopt our investment policy and the financial institutions and/or brokers that you authorize staff to deal with. And both of those resolutions are attached here. We've not had any recommended changes to any of our, whether it be our investment policy or our financial policy for this year and really for the last few years. But I wouldn't be surprised that we may start seeing some things come out of the legislature in the next few years that we may end up start seeing a few changes. But let me just say that for this year, there are no changes, and so your approval and adoption of basically the page 28 and 29 of your agenda package, which is the resolution formally adopting that policy.
Form adopting the policies.
Resolution, the other one's an ordinance.
Okay.
Mark, was there a correction on page 29?
I'm sorry, yes, there was a correction. The bank, the financial institution that we are using, our depository is not First Financial, it's Texas Bank.
Texas
So that
Bank.
does need to be corrected, so I'm sorry.
Any other questions for Mark? Hearing none, then we have resolution number 2014-01. And I'll say, whereas Public Funds Act of Texas is amended, requires City Council, City of Stephenville to annually review the investment policy, brokers list, and investment strategy of the city, and the written instruments so adopted shall record any changes made to either the policy, brokers list, or investment policies. So our resolution is to move to accept that as presented. Also move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm sorry, any questions? You gonna call for the vote? I guess I was gonna do that. And you take I'm sitting behind the mayor and the mayor pro tem. What can I do here? We still have the pool. We have the pool going is what it is.
Yeah. Just keep the pace, right?
There you go.
Just like the Tarleton Texans these days.
It's kind of like the football game last night. It got fast at the end.
That's right. Okay, so I've got a motion by Mr. Savine and a second, that was Mr. Nix, correct? To adopt resolution 2014-01, approving the investment policy and approving broker-dealers and investment strategies as presented. Any discussion?
With the one amendment on it.
Oh, with the amendment, yes, thank you. With the amendment to page 29, to state Texas Bank Vice First Financial Bank. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries. Resolution 2014-01 is approved as presented.
I was going to say thank you, Mayor, but excuse me for interrupting there.
Okay.
Agenda item B was a consulting agreement with a organization called TriStem Limited. And what this will do is they propose to come and look at all the utilities for the city of Stephenville and look and see if there's any, both electric, gas, water, sewer, franchise payments, telephones, et cetera, and see if there's some way through either taxes that we paid, surcharges, or costs of any kind, if there's something they can recoup. I have not used directly TriStem before, but in our business in Stephenville, Texas, we've used similar consulting contracts, and they have found quite a bit of money that if we didn't spend a lot of time on top of, we'll miss. This particular contract says that they'll get 50% of what they find. Is that correct?
49.
49. Well, that's right, 49%. So they basically get it just short of half of any money they find. This is a one-year contract, and what it does is if any findings that anything they find for this one during this 1 year time, they get that 49%. But in addition to that, anything going forward, then the staff will know exactly where to continue finding those savings, and so we'll recoup or save more money in the future. So, any questions for Mark?
Well, and just as a clarification, we don't pay anything
Until we get paid.
until we get paid.
That's right.
So
This
please understand.
This really
it's a-
costs us nothing.
Hopefully we get a little extra cash out of this deal, plus we learn something.
They work
Yes.
on a 49% commission basis, commission only. I have a question, Mark. I was under the weather that night the committee met on this. On page 30, it shows electric, gas, water, sewage, franchise payments, telephone, and they're supposed to be checked. Are we going to have them check all of those in the agreement?
They will not be doing the water and sewer because we are the water and
We
sewer.
are the water and
I
sewer.
mean, you know, but
There's not any way they can find any extra savings there for us in water and sewer? Just ask.
It's a billing issue, isn't it?
Hopefully, we're being as efficient with our water and sewer system because we know water and sewer is as good as them, but.
Sure.
I mean,
Okay.
Well, there will be some efficiencies when we get our new meters put in and stuff, though.
Well, and that's a different issue.
That's a different issue.
Right, that's a different issue.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay, then,
Anything? Okay, then I'll consider a motion then, I guess, to approve this agreement.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Savine, seconded by Mr. Hogan to approve the agreement with Tri-Stem as presented. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that motion carries as presented.
Waiting for Doug to call the question on that.
There you go, call a
Yeah.
question. Thank you, Alan. It's nice to have friends. Agenda item C is nothing more than a report. Every year, the staff compiles a general fund financial information for presentation to the committee and to the council. And I guess one of the biggest issues is it gives us a credit rating, so when we go out and borrow money, this report probably does as much for us to set what our interest rate is. It talks about the financial condition of the city of Stephenville, and I'm happy to report with Walt and Mark's leadership that we're in good condition at this point and able to do a lot of things. So there really is no action required, but it was a report, and so if there's any questions from the council for Mark.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. That's all my
Okay.
committee had.
Okay. And Mr. Savine, I'd like to thank you and your committee's work on this. And I just want to highlight that second agenda item on Tri-Stem is an effort for us to squeeze every dollar out of the turnip, so to speak, to ensure that taxpayers' dollars are not wasted. And so that's a very, it may seem like a minor point, but it may prove to save or recoup thousands of dollars that we might not have otherwise.
And over the future, thousands of more.
Right, so that's great. All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Savine, seconded by Mr. Pendleton to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion?
If Joe Coog was here, he'd pull something off, Mayor.
Okay, well, he's not, so I'll ask for all those in favor.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved as presented. And now we'll move to comments by city administrators. So, Mark?
Thank you. This is the time of year that some projects are ending and others, as you just approved in the consent agenda, many other projects are beginning to begin scheduled for construction. The most important, I want to just kind of point out, and I'll try to remind everybody, but one of them that's probably going to be the most visible is very quickly, we're going to see the Garfield storage tank, which is the water tank right in the middle of Tarleton campus, right there beside the schools, very busy, one of the busier streets in town. They're going to be having to put up a lot of different safety features and environmental features. So they're going to start, everybody's going to be seeing a lot of activity. They're just refurbishing it and repainting it. We're not tearing it down, and so just for everybody's benefit, it's going to begin, and that's what's going on. And again, we ask everybody to be careful. And again, this company does a very good job. They do this all over. One of the reasons why I've been excited about them is they do quite a few of these water towers within university campuses. So they're, matter of fact, I think they're leaving the University of Virginia actually and coming here to do our project. So they just completed one very similar to what we're doing here. But And then the other thing is, the other project area, just as soon as all the contractors can be set up, we're gonna be seeing a lot of utility work on First, Second, Cage, what is that? Grospec, in that area. We're about to be spending, roughly about $1 million in that area here in the next 6 months. And so just, if you know the residents in that area, the contractors do all those notifications, but again, trying to make sure that the public is aware that that neighborhood's gonna be dealing with some construction issues the next several months. We've got many projects that again are on the drawing board. We're still waiting for some of those to be, the paperwork to be put together, and we'll be going. The last thing, I guess, really just staying in line with the financial, some of the financial information. Our audit will be presented at the February council meeting, so we'll kind of get a last year's picture, and then it's also a time that we begin to look, I hate to say it, but already start looking to next year's budget. It's kind of, that's that transition period that occurs right there. So the only other thing I want to point out is just please note that we are going to have a meeting next week. We do have a meeting scheduled next week for several items. And then, Mayor, I didn't know if you wanted to bring this up or if you want me to, but we're trying to target some dates for kind of a half-day work session, whatever you want to call it. We've called it several different things. January 20th, it's a Monday, and it is a holiday. It is a holiday. We don't recognize that, we do not have that holiday, but I know many of you do, and if that actually may work to be a good day for everybody, where everybody maybe could work, if everybody, and I'm asking if January the 20th from 1 to 5, 1 to 6 would be a good day and time to schedule that. We'd like to do that rather than take a Friday. We've been talking about a Friday afternoon. So I'm going to throw that out there, and some of those that had maybe some work conflicts in the past, they're the ones shaking their head a little bit more that maybe. So if y'all tell me no, we're probably going to schedule that. I'm just going to let you know. And then with that said, I have nothing else. I'll be glad to answer any
Before you
other
leave
questions.
that, does that look tentatively to everybody like it'll be an okay day, the afternoon of the 20th?
Afternoon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about 1 to 5, 6 o'clock, 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. All right, and just so we can, Mark, you mentioned
Mentioned
it, but the purpose of this is for us as a council to get together in essentially an off-site to talk about the action plan for 2014, what are the priorities. And we've talked about this some in November. We talked about it in December to try to ask ourselves as a council, what are the big rocks that we need to be concentrating on. And so the effort during that half day will be for us to kind of roll up our sleeves and talk about that in more detail. So, okay.
And only because I just, and I was remembering an email that I just had right before I came down here. Somebody was asking me again, a citizen was asking about the traffic signal at Olean, Washington. It is scheduled to be completed by January 14th. So what is that, next week sometime? And it's looking good. They've been doing all their work. They had to wait for the holidays and some other things, but I do anticipate they're trying to have it completely activated, turned on, and we'll start seeing some changes here pretty soon. And
I've got a quick question.
I have been told that one's still on schedule.
Yeah.
Everybody-
Do they already have sensors underneath the roads to activate the left turn signals, or you don't? They're not
No,
going
they
under the
usually,
road with sensors?
and I'm pretty sure they're not going to be putting those in the pavement this go around. It's going to have
Okay.
some different
So they're just gonna
censored
have a
activity.
cycle that they set them on?
It's, I don't know all the details, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the cycle, but then they'll just have the sensors in that area. Because again, what's happened is, another reason why some of this is all of these older are such old technology, but they still have to try to find ways to coordinate those with the new and the old. And the one that in particular that really affects is the one at Lillian and Washington. And so, they're still going to be, they're trying to converge the new and the old technology. And so we'll really still be seeing the newer sensors, which the newer sensors, they don't put them in the ground anymore.
Were they on the light pointed down or something?
So they're just different mechanisms. So. But it's gonna be all the new technology, plus it's got the ability to upgrade to some even newer stuff. So, all that should be occurring.
Any other questions for Mark? I've got one question, Mark. I asked you this earlier, and I just would like for you to give us an update on TxDOT's replacement of the signs around town. For those of you that don't remember, I do very vividly. A year ago, we had talked to TxDOT about replacing many of the street signs that are very worn across the city, and they told us then that they needed to wait till a non-paving season to do that, which is not January to March. Well, last year, January to March came and went, and not a sign was replaced. So now it's January again. So I don't know that you have an update tonight, but if you don't, I would like for it to go in the minutes that I've asked this question, and I would like for TxDOT to give us, through you, to us, an update on when they're gonna get this done for our city.
We discussed this morning. I sent the email like I told you I would,
Okay.
and I'm waiting to hear back, and I'll report
Okay.
accordingly.
I
Hopefully
appreciate
it's
your help
sooner
with
than
that.
later.
And, like I've said, if you drive around town and you see a sign that looks like it's 20 or 30 years old, it doesn't reflect very positively on the pride that this city has in itself. And we're relying on them to do that, and you sure wouldn't see a street sign like that in Fort Worth. So, I'm encouraged that they're gonna get this done this year. So, thanks.
Me too.
All right. All right, anything else, Mark? You're done, okay. Council comments.
Mr. Mayor, just want to let all the citizens listening or watching at home and the folks here in the chamber know that it is Stephenville night at the Tarleton basketball game tomorrow night. So if you bring your ID, everybody gets in free, as long as you live in the city limits. And $1 concession stand night. So all items are $1. And a gentleman 5 seats to my left is sponsoring an $1,800 half-court shot. So if you come and you get your name drawn, you can shoot a half-court shot for $1,800. Both of our teams are in the top 20 in the nation. Not too many cities in America can say they have 2 college basketball teams ranked in the top 20 in the nation. So the Texans are 15th in the nation. That's the highest ranking in school history. The Texans are number 9, and we're playing Angelo State at 6 and 8 o'clock. So hope to see everyone out. The Henderson Junior High band, cheer, and dance squads will perform too. So come out and support them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and welcome back.
Good to be back.
All right,
Happy New Year.
yeah. Dr. Cross? No. Mr. Sneed?
Couple of things. Comment on, doesn't Ronnie Hearn's basketball show start Thursday also at 9
Well,
o'clock?
I didn't want to turn our city council meetings into a Tarleton athletic
Well,
update, but yes.
I want to make sure
Yeah.
since you're
One
talking
shot.
basketball, we go ahead and give Ronnie a
Thursday,
little bit of credit
Thursday at a
there.
bank that starts with an F. Yeah.
There you go, all right.
Why stop now?
Next thing is, my other comment is I met with a gentleman, a really nice guy, Major Wendell Sadler of the Texas National Guard, this weekend in conjunction with Tarleton and a couple of organizations in town. They're putting on an emergency disaster awareness and readiness plan, and I think it's a really good thing. I know some of us are going to participate in that. Also, I visited with him and asked him about what other organizations, government organizations are attending, and he said none at this point, but so I'm going to just recommend that the city staff, I asked him, I said, if city staff and county staff and whatever would want to participate, would that be good? And he said it'd be great. You know, I'd hate to have something like a Moore, Oklahoma disaster happen and we're all on the same page. So I just recommend that we, next year, they do have an annual event, I think that starts in March, that's a statewide event, but the local one is this weekend. So I just want to pass that on. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. McDaniel?
I have 2 things I'd like to mention tonight. It's encouraging to see such a large crowd in the audience tonight. Thank you all for coming. You picked a good one to come for. It's not a lengthy meeting. And the other thing I'd like to mention is to all our city workers that work out in this weather, I feel your pain. Thank you for the sacrifices that you make daily out there providing the services to our citizens. It has been bitter. I can't remember a winter that has started out this bitter. I hope it doesn't continue like this, but I just wanted to let you all know that you are very much appreciated. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Mr. Pendleton?
Two things. I'm gonna take the opposite position as Mr. Hogan and encourage nobody to attend the basketball game, please, because I don't want to pay $1,800 for a half-court shot. So,
Lots of folks in town have been practicing. I've
They
seen some
have.
Tarleton football players practicing
they're all,
in the gym.
the
So,
student body has become real excited about it. So Mr. Hogan has graciously volunteered to work a car wash with me, though. So there's some other conditions upon that. But anyways,
Don't go there.
like to welcome and thank Leadership Stephenville for being here today. I'm sure y'all are trying to come up with a class project, if I remember correctly, and I can guarantee you the city will be more than welcome to assist in any projects you wish to, or any designs or help or ideas you might need in a class project. So please do not let that resource go to waste. Myself or anyone up here on this council will be more than happy to assist y'all. So take that up for consideration, please. That's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nix. Mr. Evans?
I think we've wasted enough time with this. I
Okay,
have nothing.
all right. Well, I'm gonna try not to waste time, but I do want to say a couple of things. First of all, I want to echo what Brady said about Leadership Stephenville being here. This is a program for our community that is really important, and your participation in it is a long and important history in our community, and so thank you for taking the time to do that. It is important for the future of our community. I also want to single out somebody whose work has been mentioned all night long, but his name has not, and that's Mr. Nick Williams. You've been working hard, and the projects that we talked about, the tank project, the sewer line projects, the waste contract, that's all been on your plate. And so, Nick, thank you for all your work. And then the other thing to think about is that all that's happening in the November, December timeframe, when everybody else is wondering how long they need to cook their turkey for Christmas and Thanksgiving or whatever. So thanks, Nick, for your work with that as well as we move forward. I know that you didn't mention specifically the meeting next week, Mark. The agenda items there include the Personnel Committee looking at the pay plan, and I know that we missed a meeting in December for obvious reasons, and that remains an important item for the council. And just also that the Planning and Development Committee looking at the task force items is that third item that's on there. So I just wanted to mention that as well as we move forward into 2014. So. The discussion that we had for the off-site that's coming up, I mentioned that for y'all on the council that to be thinking about, what to present as an item that you think your committee needs to have as a priority for the year.
Are you giving us homework, Mayor?
Yeah, yeah. Because I think for that meeting, we've whittled it down to be a half day, and hopefully it can be as productive as possible as we look to align what we're going to ask the staff to try to concentrate on. And I know there's important dialogue that is going to take place between us and the staff about what those priorities are. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. And with that, I'm going to call the council into an executive session, and we will dismiss and in compliance with the provisions of the Texas Open Meeting Law, Subchapter D, Government Code, Vernon, Texas Codes, annotated in accordance with Section 551.072, deliberations about real property, and we're going to adjourn and reconvene in the training room at this time. So thanks, everyone, for attending. Well, you can't stay till we readjourn.